What's up, YouTube, and welcome to another video. Today I want to make a video talking about, like I entitled this video, the new Siren song, and I'm gonna give my what I mean by that and what I think to be the new Siren song in the world. So, for those who don't know, a siren or mermaid was like, as you know, it's like a being that was supposed to have the body of a body of a fish, but the tail of a fish, but the upper body and the face of a human being. And while there's all sorts of stories are tied to them. The more recent stories of mermaids, for example, when you're younger, you watch like the Little Mermaid. It's like mermaids are creatures of love and benefit, and like they're nice and kind to human beings. But a lot of the earlier stories were much more mixed, in the sense that while there were a lot of good stories, there were a lot of evil stories. So in this story, in this video, we're going to really talk about the more evil side of it, and what the legends that were surrounding them, and like how it applies to today. So there were myths and there were stories, legends of sailors who, when they would go out to sea, that these beautiful beings from the water, like they had the tails of fish and the upper bodies of women, would come and would sing to them, and their song would be so addicting and so seductive to the weary sailors, often because the sailors have been sailing for a while and all that kind of stuff, that they would actually be hypnotized. And the siren would do would lure lure the sailors, especially the ones who had no experience. And then, just when the sailor is not expecting it, they would grab them and drag them to the bottom of the ocean and drown them, and basically eat them, whatever, like depending on what version of the myth you read, whatever they do with them down there. So I want to compare that phenomenon to what I see going on today, with a lot of the sexualization of the world, and even a lot of the early access to pornography, and what it's doing to a lot of especially to like young men. And if you notice, first came the alluring look and the sound. The alluring look and the song. And with the way the world is today, it's very the first look of just being a more sexualized world, like, going on Instagram and you'll see a lot of um sex selling, and even in a lot of music videos, it's just like everywhere you go, it's some type of it's some form of either softcore or hardcore sexualization. There's a alluring side to it, because hey, we're human beings. We are all wired to notice sexual opportunities. We That's how we are still here. That's how we survived as a species. So it's deeply embedded in us to react to these kind of things. So that's like the new song in the world, like it gets you hooked, gets you transfixed. But what happens after a while, just like the sailor, when the sailor got cooked, and then the creature would then hold him and then drag him to the bottom of the water, back to the ocean. Well, a lot of people, to be transparent, even in my journey, like I'll say in my experience with pornography and viewing a lot of like even sexualized channels on YouTube, sexualized Instagram accounts, is that you never really are where you started. It's like you go deeper into, and then you start looking at things, and you start and you start ingesting material that it's so foreign from what you originally was. So for example, if you originally just watched a little man and woman kiss and whatever, like a little kiss and like a little touch up and a little feel up, and maybe even if you got into the pornography, you probably watch a little bit more explicit stuff, but now you look at you're looking at some of the content you watch, and you're like, but how did I get here? And in my opinion, that's like the drowning process that starts, that a lot of times we don't teach enough about the dangers of these sexualization stuff, and the dangers of the pornography, is that there's a drowning effect. Like, you keep going lower and lower and lower. You start lowering your standards to even get to consume this material. For example, a lot of time we a lot of time we complain we don't have time to do certain things for ourselves. We don't have time to work on our money. We don't have time to go to the gym. We're too tired to do this. We're too tired to go to work. We're too tired to do a lot of things. But somehow we spend hours to spend scrolling for Instagram, and a lot of what keeps us hooked is the sex is a lot of the sex that they're selling in these videos. Um, we spend we find time to go on raunchy sites, and we don't realize we're drowning. We're getting older. We're wasting our energy, wasting our time by being hooked, just like the young sailor was when that Siren got him. It's just like he's drawing lower and lower and lower. And the sad part is, just like the sailor, by the time he realized what was going on, he was so low down, and he was being dragged to the ground, he was being dragged below by a being who was superior in the water. Like a lot of times, by the time a lot of people realize what's going on, what's happening to their brain, how dirty and like how sometimes how lustful things are in the world, they're so low into it and they're in such an addictive state that it's just like, oh my gosh, the path back up seems so hard. It seems so hard, and it's like it's unfair because when you think about it, the people who use lust, the people who manipulate the algorithms to be this way, they're using an ancient, desire in human nature to against you basically, and it's hard to fight. It's really hard to fight it's hard to fight and control one's sexual desires, and in a society where it's all over the place, it becomes even harder. And it also reminds me of like the Medusa story of how, just the same way the siren, after a while, when it brought you back to the ground and it'll drown you, sorry, to the bottom of the ocean and it'll drown you, it also it that represents for me a state that people get to within their sexual desires when it's out of control, even in overuse of pornography, is that they get to a point where you feel hopeless. You feel like that's you now. You feel like it's normal. There's some people who would even say, oh, this is normal. And you get to a point where it's just like you become unproductive too, because so much of your time is being sapped out. So much of your attention span is being sapped out by these things and by watching these things, and so much of your the way the way you're supposed to really be thinking is being subverted and being changed by all this content you're receiving. And instead of having normal conversations, your brain is so wired and fired up about a lot of the sexualization that is going on. And but I kind of want to make this video to say, like, it's kind of like a awareness video to like show that this is what's going on. This is why I believe it's a new Siren song in the world. It's dangerous. It's more dangerous than it looks. It sounds like a myth, just like when these sailors. I'm so like when these sailors came home and they told these stories, people be like, like, you talking like this? It ain't that bad, or they'll say, this not real. And unfortunately, a lot of people in this topic I'm talking about, they don't think it's real. They don't really see it as a problem, but slowly and surely we're seeing holes being punched in our society. We've seen weird holes being punched in our society. Slowly and surely we're accepting more things that was once taboo. You understand? And it's becoming weirder and weirder as time goes on. And it's all about the drowning process that I feel like we're in. And sometimes, but the beauty about being human and the beauty about being part of humanity is that the human spirit is very strong, very, very strong. It's stronger than all of our desires. And the truth is, unlike the drowning sailor, you have a chance, and you can really turn this around, and you could use your sexual desires properly, and it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of discipline. But where there's a will, there's a way. And if you're a person who is suffering from this, and you're realizing that you were kind of like duped into it to be this type of way, don't give up, and and just like, keep feeding yourself with information, learn about ways to get out of it, and keep yourself busy. Basic main thing, keep yourself busy and try not to be distracted by the sounds. Thank you.